For coming to our weekly mayoral news conference. We only have a few announcements today, but we are prepared to take questions. And when I say we, I mean the mayor. And with that, I will turn it over to the mayor.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining. Thank you, Chief. I appreciate it. When I say that, nobody says anything back, so I don't usually expect. But let me do it again. Good afternoon. All right. Thank you for joining us for our weekly press briefing. Let me begin first with some acknowledgments. We're sending our prayers and support and condolences to both Councilwoman Virgie Lindsay, who lost her mother, Miss Iva Stewart. Eva Stewart? Is it Iva? I think it's Iva Stewart on Wednesday. And then a day later, Dr. Omari lost her mother, Miss Dorothy Jenkins, on Thursday. And so our prayers are with them collectively as they mourn the loss of their mothers. We have our college students from all of our institutions. We're welcoming them back as they come back to campus, both returning students and new students. We're happy to see them come back to the city. We're prayerful that they have a successful semester and school year. And we are hopeful that their not only trip back, but as they relocate, that is done seamlessly and successfully. So that's a welcome back to all those students. We don't often refer to ourselves as a college town, but we really are. Not just having Jackson State, but Tougaloo College, Millsaps, Belhaven, University of Mississippi Medical Center, Mississippi College School of Law, Hines Community Colleges, Community College, and in the area, Holmes, and a number of other institutions. So we truly are a college town, even though we don't refer to ourselves in that way. And so the success of our students, the success of those institutions is the success of Jackson. And so we want the start of school to be successful. It is a proud moment for me, and I want to invite Chief Owens to come forward with me as we commend some of our firefighters who, once again, when others run out, they run in. And last month, District 3 fire crews were dispatched to a house fire in the Fondren Hill Apartments. When they arrived, they found a male resident trapped on the second floor. The Engine 7 crew, which consisted of Captain Charles Gillespie, is it Gillespie? Right. Junior, Lieutenant, is it Lynch? Link, okay, I'm sorry. Link Tucker, and relief driver operators Darius Loving were able to use the truck ladder to help the resident escape. The person who suffered from the fire did receive medical attention, but is expected to make a full recovery. And so we want to take our moment in this press conference to recognize the heroic efforts of our firefighters to save another Jackson resident. We have a first-class fire department. It's a point that we don't brag on often, but we want you to know that the Jackson residents appreciate the work that you do, and we're certain that this Jackson resident is grateful for you saving his life. With that, I want to give Chief Owens a moment to say something regarding this heroic effort, and then we have a token of our appreciation, acknowledging your efforts. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon. Sometimes people go out of their way to do certain things, and sometimes people say, well, that's just their job. That's what they're supposed to do. Yes, they are supposed to do that, but when they go out of their way to risk their own life to save someone else's life, I think that's worthy of being recognized, and that's why we're here today, to recognize these three guys. Now, I realize that there have been other times where we've had firefighters to go in and save people lives, even save their property or their pets or whatever. But sometimes I think it's just it's good to give credit where credit is due. These guys risk their own lives to go in to save a person, and I think this is worthy of being recognized. So that's why we're here today. And I want to thank the mayor, the staff, the administrative staff, and I want to thank all the other firefighters. I have District Chief here, District Chief. I got a brain for it. Yusef Wilder. I was trying to think of Yusef. I'm sorry, man. You know I know you. But I have District Chief Wilder here, and he is a district chief in that particular district. Yeah. As you know, we have 3 different districts in the city of Jackson, 1, 2, and 3. And 3 is in North Jackson. And that's where the fire was, and that's where these guys went in to save this person. So I want to say I appreciate Chief Wilder for being here as well. And any other family members, we want to say we appreciate you all for being here to witness this. So thank you all. Okay?
You know, speaking on the notion of it being more than just a job, many of us would like to think that in a moment like that, in a crisis, we would go in and save someone, but you really don't know until you're faced with that predicament. And so when called on, you demonstrated that you are truly heroes and that your training was indeed purposeful and needed. So with that, I'm going to provide some certificates of appreciation here, and we're going to call their names individually, but this says from the Jackson Fire Department, Life Saving Award is going to be presented to them in recognition of your outstanding service and commitment to preserve life. Thank you for your amazing service, presented this 12th day of August 2024, and it's actually Chief Willie Owens' name affixed to this, but I'm grateful to participate and recognize you publicly for your work. So with that, I'd like to ask Captain Gillespie to come forward. Let me give that to you, Chief. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And we also have these, we want to hang on these guys, so I'm going to do that, and then we'll do the photo. I want to say congratulations, we appreciate you.
All right.
Okay. Yes, sir.
And if you don't mind, if you could stand right there, we're going to take a picture afterwards.
Okay.
Next, we have Fire Lieutenant Tucker. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Here we go. And last but not least, and you'll know why I said Reef, because Relief Driver Operator Loving. All right. Last, before we take this picture, and Chief, I'll get on the other side there. I think it's important that we recognize that while this is a part of the work they do every day, we should never take for granted their heroic efforts. And as a city, it's our responsibility to demonstrate dignity in your jobs. And part of that is making certain that we express our appreciation. So thank you.
All right, Mayor, can I say one other thing? I do have Chief Sanders here, too. He's one of my deputy chiefs. Chief Sanders is the one that puts all this stuff together. He puts so much into this, and I want to say I appreciate it. If you all follow us on Facebook, the Jackson Fire Department Facebook page, you will see where we recognize everyone that we hire and everyone that we promote. We give them these certificates, and you will see that on our Facebook page. And I want to say Chief Sanders is responsible for that, one of my deputy chiefs, and he does a great job. I want to say I appreciate you, man. All right.
Chief Owens, this is a good opportunity to remind everybody that the fire department defeated the police department again in another basketball tournament. So they're winning all around. That's a shout out to the police department. You know, y'all need to start practicing because they've won more games than the Olympic basketball team against y'all. We're grateful for their work. Switching the page, I want to make an announcement about Utilities Day. Our Neighborhood Services Division is working on what we are calling Utilities Day. We are inviting each of our utilities to come under one roof. The idea is to give residents access to utility companies to address any issues that they may have. We know at our last press conference we presented Entergy before you so that we could talk about lights that were out, give a plea to residents when they're in position to make certain that they note those lights and take an image of them using the Entergy app. We know that the concerns and the questions span beyond just the Entergy. And so we're inviting Atmos, Entergy, as I said, Jackson Water, MDOT, and BEAM. BEAM is the Broadband Expansion and Accessibility of Mississippi. This will be August 27th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the JSU E-Center on Raymond Road. Residents should bring their questions and concerns. Utilities will also provide information about programs that offer a wide range of assistance options. And so again, Utilities Day will be August 27th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the JSU E-Center. With that, we're opening it up for any questions that you have. Yes, ma'am. So I don't have actual numbers. Anecdotally, I can tell you that we're seeing a lot more traffic and usage of the meters than what we were seeing from the prior meters that we had. I'm looking forward. I'm eagerly anticipating the revenue numbers so that we can share them with you and share them with residents. And I want people to understand why this is necessary. First and foremost, for a city of Jackson's size to be in an urban area and destination, we are far behind the times in terms of using parking as a source of income so that we can take care of the needs of residents. When we see that lawns aren't maintained as they need to be, when we see that our sidewalks sometimes fall in disorder, this is revenue that can help go towards presenting the city that we all deserve. As we're seeing declines in the revenue that we achieve, whether it be from water billing and other areas, we have to be able to identify other sources of revenue to maintain the services that our residents depend on. So anecdotally, which is without verification, we're seeing far more traffic towards those meters than what we were seeing previously. People would just routinely dismiss our other meters. Often because they either didn't have change. Many people don't carry around quarters in their pockets. Most people are using debit cards, if they even have cash, right? They usually typically use the debit card. So having a convenient means of taking people's taking people's payments is helpful to the city. And I think that will touch on some other areas that may come up in questioning, talking about the convenience of how people pay. Yes, I saw his hand first, and then I'm coming to you. Charlie?
I was just curious, when is the full list of lights that are out?
Talking about street lights. I will get with them and see how soon they can populate that. Did you receive the list that we had the last time? Okay. We'll make certain that we'll work towards, I guess, before the end of the month. I'll think that that's a safe estimate of time. Before the end of the month, we'll work to get whatever list that they have, whether it's a fully populated list or their best estimates, we'll look to present that. We had a list, but by their own acknowledgement, it was not everything that they had in-house, and so they were asking for the benefit of populating that which they already know. Okay. Yes, sir.
On the subject of parking meters, I saw quite a number pay $1 to park for an hour and a ticket. They also say that this system would be better if we had the older meters where people would know where to put their money instead of having to park the kiosk and half a block down the street. And then one of the managers said that state employees were told by, I guess their managers at the state, to park in state home parking garages because of the threat of getting parking tickets.
Well,
Parking tickets.
Well, one, for those that work in the area, it is not an uncommon practice that if you're going to work in a downtown area every day, that you get into a parking structure. That should leave spaces available for those people that may be coming to restaurants. Furthermore, for those people that are detracted by a dollar payment in order to get lunch, a dollar gives you an hour, right? Then they weren't really that loyal to either those businesses or the city of Jackson. We're talking about a dollar. If you go to any city near our size, you're looking at a minimum of $5. Furthermore, when you go to Atlanta, when you go to Houston, if you don't understand the meter, then you find time to figure it out so that you don't make certain that you don't get a ticket. We have to be in the 21st century. We can't continue to demand and desire all of the things that we want our city to have and feel that that happens out of nothing. You cannot get blood out of a turnip, right? And so we need to be able to present these things. And so these are fair. They are customary requests that the city of Jackson is making. First of all, the parking was never supposed to be free, right? So simply because the custom became that we're not going to pay the fare doesn't mean that that's something that the city should support, nor is it going to take us to the destination that we collectively want to get to.
Sorry, you've acknowledged before that, people have essentially been parking free for and thrust the system on people.
I thrust what we work to put a more efficient system in place. That's my job as mayor. Because things have not been working for the past 20 years, I don't think that it should be my responsibility to accept that as fact. I think I need to find solutions to those problems and find out how we fix those issues. And so that's what we simply did here, just like we did with a new bus system that provided more efficiency in that, just as we're working on roads, just as we've advocated all across the world to have the money for a more efficient drinking water system. We're constantly looking at problems and finding out how we bring solutions to bear. And so this is just another example of that. It was never intended for the parking to be free because when they put the old meters in, they knew that it was sorely needed revenue. And it is more sorely needed today than even it was at that point in time where the old meters were put in place.
I don't want to beat that horse. What do you say to these restaurant owners? They're not complaining about people having to pay. They're complaining about people that it's inconvenient because you don't have the old meters. And in some cases, the kiosks haven't been installed in some of these side streets.
Well, first of all, I would say first to the residents and anybody visiting that there are multiple ways in order to pay. You can either go to the kiosk or you can just simply text to the number that is posted and pay through the text message app, right? The kiosk is there if you don't have a credit card. For those people that may not use digital forms of payment, it can actually accept coins and dollar bills at the same time. So we're covering all of the bases. I would say that it was part of the package. When you put your establishment in a downtown area, your expectation should be that you don't have a huge parking lot that you may have in some areas that are not as populated as downtown. So once again, that should be your expectation. And we should not continue to depend on inefficiencies. We should not, some people profit from the dysfunction. We have to be able to turn the page to a city that is more efficient, to a city that is more productive. What will benefit those companies is a downtown area that is better maintained than it is today, where it is aesthetically pleasing and people want to come. That doesn't happen for free. That doesn't happen on our good prayers and good wishes. It happens because we take sufficient steps to ensure that we're maintaining all of these things for our residents, and this is part of that process. So I know that they went back into discussions. I do not know where they are presently in their conversation. We will tune back in. We wanted to back away to give their representation opportunity to speak on issues that the city cannot, we can't be the the mediator on. Those are issues with their contracts. And so it is time for us to look back to it. And it would be premature for me to say how I would respond to a strike. We would see, if necessary, if we could maintain the services. If not, then we would communicate with the residents. But I need to see where those negotiations are. I need to see whether there have been good faith conversations, whether there have been good faith efforts to maintain those discussions. And I pray that that has been the case, but I'm unaware at this moment. So those events, if any, that need to be moved, we're working with the Jackson Convention Complex to ensure that those needs are met. They are ensuring that the air conditioning is fixed. These aren't things that have all of a sudden fallen in disarray. Thalia Mara Hall, surprise, is old, right? And as an older building, things start to decline. And so we have the money in order to repair many of these things, but it takes time. When people think of air conditioning units, we don't go to the Lowe's or Home Depot and buy an air conditioning unit. For a building that size, it actually has to be created. It has to be engineered. We need the specs to make certain that it fits the needs of a facility of that size. And so they will continue to do what they've been doing. They will supplement the needs of Thalia Mara Hall with chillers while they are continuing to work on the engineering for the long-term solution, as well as other things. And so those fixes are still underway. No, I don't think that we're at a place where we want to sell Thalia Mara Hall. In fact, outside, this is not the conversation. Thalia Mara Hall over the last few years has had some of its most successful years in its history. Now, one of those challenges, since we're, I'll segue from the parking meter conversation. You know how much it costs to rent Thalia Mara Hall? This is another inefficiency. $1,200. You can rent Thalia Mara Hall for your birthday party, right? A facility of that size. And so in comparison, we know that New Orleans, some of their venues, they're charging $40,000 in order to rent out Thalia Mara Hall. Once again, these are things that we're taking note of so that we find out how we can become more efficient. When you have a fee that is that inexpensive, then when you have the crews that are trying to maintain things, when you have the cost of cleanup, those things don't become achieved because we're charging such a woefully insufficient charge for those people that rent Thalia Mara Hall. And these are events that are coming where they're making hundreds of thousands of dollars, and the city is walking away with $1,200. We talk about the need for expanding our concession offerings. One of the concerns was the investment in new carpeting and not wanting to have some concessions there with the potential of risking that. That has to be incorporated in the cost that we rent it out for. Along with your cost to rent out the hall should be a cost associated with cleanup fees. And so just like the movie theaters that, not only offer popcorn and hot dogs now, they have a full menu of options that they provide. We don't need to be providing concessions of 20 years ago. We need to be able to provide things at Thalia Mara Hall that people are looking for in their experience all across the country. And so we look forward to doing that. We're going to make these upgrades, and we're going to also look at expanding on that fee so that we can have some of the latest technology in Thalia Mara Hall that you see at other venues. Yes, sir.
Just a follow-up, so we kind of answered it. So once these upgrades are made, will there be more discussion about raising that price?
Yeah, and
Does that include the IBC only pay $1,200 to rent out Thalia Mara for however long?
what I know is that is the fee to rent it out. I don't have that contract in hand, and so I can't tell you whether there were other expenses placed in there. That is the rent. That is the fee to rent out Thalia Mara Hall is $1,200. So I would punt that to our Human and Cultural Services Department, Mike Williams, and he can share that information with you. But what we know, I've seen the heads nodding in the room. No one in this room, if I had put it as a trivia question and asked you how much do you think Thalia-Mara Hall costs to rent out, no one would have thought that you could get a hall of that size for $1,200. And so even though we want to offer more, we're going to consider the offerings of Thalia-Mara Hall today versus what we plan on doing in the near future. And we should see that cost increase. People, we want them to come. We want to see good shows. I think that we can strike a balance of receiving more revenue for Thalia-Mara Hall and at the same time having events that turn a successful profit for those promoters and those the entertainment options that come.
Mr. Mayor, isn't that something supposed to be under the purview of the administration, the amount they charge to rent that facility? And who was not managing the facility that's gotten in such bad shape?
It's not so much that they weren't managing the facility that got in a bad shape. It's like most things. Sometimes your need exceeds your means. And so this is a building that is older and in decline. And so we were blessed and we advocated for an appropriation from the state legislature to help us fix these things. We have received this. And so that's why the money is in hand now and the repairs will be made. In terms of that fee, there was hesitancy over time. This has been the fee through many administrations. There was hesitancy because of the challenges with Thalia-Mara Hall with increasing that fee. We are of the belief that even in need of those repairs, that you don't find a facility of that size for $1,200. And so I'm bringing it to your attention now. Ultimately, it will have to be passed by the city council for that to be a new fee cost, and we plan on bringing that forward. All right. Yes, ma'am. So please don't hold me fast to, hard and fast to this number, but it's about $4 to $5 million. And so that's what we're looking at. And $4 or $5 million does not stretch as far as you may think that it does. Air conditioning units cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. They have an issue with the orchestra pit that has to be secured. There's an assessment for the fire curtain to ensure that it still has useful life. That will ultimately need to be replaced. And the rigging system is something that we're evaluating too as to whether it needs to be repaired. It's older. And so we want to make certain that we have everything that Broadway would need if they come to the city of Jackson, when they come to the city of Jackson. Okay. So we have two different issues, right? If it's a pothole, then there's a claims department within risk management. And so they would file a complaint with risk management for that. I believe an issue that was recently covered was an issue not of a pothole, but a utility cut. Jackson Water created a utility cut, and we've received the testimony of someone that said that they had a wreck and destroyed their car based on that utility cut. I believe Councilman Stokes brought them forward and asked that we pay them $10,000. There was a news report that actually said, they alleged that I did not talk to her. First of all, if you rewind the tape, I said that I will talk to you after this. I then walked out of that chair, right, out of the shot of cameras, and I talked to the lady right here in these chambers. Many of you saw me talk to her, right? And the reason I talked to her was not only her concern. First of all, be clear, I've known that lady for over 20 years, right? Or near 20 years. She's done work for us. I know her well. And so I spoke to her about her concern. I told her that to some extent she was being used as a political football, and she needed to have honest conversations about liability. And so I said that I would write a letter. Now, I have not written that letter yet. But part of the reason I haven't written that letter is because I hadn't been supplied with information, such as the cost of your vehicle, the value of the vehicle, whether you were uninsured or insured, where it happened, what body shop you went to, or any of those things. The day that the accident happened, right? All of those things I want to be able to speak to, or at least some of those issues in my letter. But the notion that, Jackson Water would do utility cuts and, we would just pay the piper for the workmanship or the lack thereof that they do is ridiculous. That's like me telling you that I'm going to do work on your behalf, right? And you don't have any say over the work that I do or don't do. And whatever I do, you're responsible if I mess up on it, right? Just an agreement. If this was at your house and I tell you I'm going to do work at your house, and I'm not going to tell you whether I'm going to do a bathroom or renovate the kitchen. And regardless of what I do, you're going to be liable for the results. That's absolutely absurd, and that's what we're talking about. Now, does that mean that she doesn't deserve to be compensated? I'm not saying that. I'm saying that she needs to be directed to the right resources that is going to solve her issues. What is believed is that, without going through the proper protocol, that our councilman will bring someone on the news and they'll cry, and we won't ask these necessary questions, right? And I suspect that she should cry, right? It is an inconvenience to her. It is something that has harmed her way of life, right? But she needs to be directed to resources that help. That's what she needs to be directed to. And so that's all that I'm speaking to. That's what I told her over there. As I committed to writing the letter, I'm still committed to writing the letter. But there is no way. First of all, I don't know that legal can even let us pay that. Legal has a responsibility to defend any claims against the city of Jackson. And so we would be dinged by the state auditor, more likely than not, if we start handing out settlements in that regard. All right.
What is the status of Jackson Zoo? There's been disturbing reports recently about what's going on at the zoo, animals continuing to perish, and facility being overgrown, not being maintained.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to have Dr. Mohammed come forward. Let me say this. I don't know of any animals perishing at an alarming rate. Animals die at zoos every day. And so that is, I think, a distortion of the facts. And, let's be clear. Does the Jackson Zoo need investment? Does it need more money? Would it benefit from that? Yes. But, this question tends to come up because it's more fuel to the fire of it should just be moved. And so as mayor, I think that I have a responsibility to all residents. Just as North Jackson residents and leadership has come to me about investments in their community, and I've supported almost every one of those, I don't believe that I should look at the people of West Jackson and say, you don't deserve to be invested in. Yes, the Jackson Zoo needs more money. It needs more investment. But it can be invested in where it is, just as the notion of it can be invested, across town.
Thank you, Mayor. Reporter Adams, to echo what the mayor said, there has not been any animals dying at an alarming rate. There has been some deaths to some animals over the years, but that's because some of the animals have perished because of age, not due to negligence of the care or the conditions of the zoo. You also mentioned about some of the sightness of the zoo in terms of the unkeptness. Those photos, most of them, 80% of the photos that were circulated are photos of the habitats of the animals itself. It's not designed to look like a manicured lawn. It's designed to look like their habitat. But there are areas that we are continuing to improve. There are the overall conditions of the zoo that we're continuing to improve. We're not running away from that to say that there are improvements and things that need to be done. But I just wanted to answer the question factually, and I actually thank you for bringing it up. There are no animals perishing at an alarming rate, and the zoo is not unkept other than it being a zoo.
Can you tell us how many animals have passed away this year?
No, sir, I don't have those actual facts in front of me. But just offhand of what I know under my tenure, I've only known of one, and that was due to age. Yes, sir. I know the question also comes up dealing with revenue. Excuse me. Are we bringing in our investment? No, sir. That's not taking place yet. What are some of the hindrances as to why that has not taken place? One is because of the method of payments that we have been handicapped, for lack of better terms, in order to be able to do, and that is electronic forms of payment. Now, we are on pace for the end of the month to be at a position to be able to accept electronic forms of payment. And just to give you an idea of how that makes a difference, I want to give you just a few statistical numbers to give you an idea. In the month of May, we had to turn away 423 potential patrons simply because we did not have electronic payments in place. That equates to $5,000 to $7,300 of revenue we missed out on just that month alone. And the reason of the difference between the pay is because of the cost of a child or their accompanying parents. That's just to give you an example of what we missed out in May. In the month of June, we missed out on a potential $6,800, and in the month of July, we missed out on a potential $11,000 just by not having electronic payment in place. As I stated earlier, we have mechanism in place now to where the end of the month we should be on pace to remedy that problem that we have. Do we believe that will make a difference in addition to having the train back operating, which should be on point at the end of this month as well? In fact, we go through its inspection this Wednesday to have it back up and running, along with other programs that we provide like Boo at the Zoo, Ice Cream Safari, Legislative Day, so on and so forth. So we're continuing to put forth those efforts that we can bring back a good return on the profit. But if I may take a point of privilege to just say at this time, when you're dealing with Parks and Recreation, we have to keep in mind that Parks and Recreation is a department that's designed to address quality of life. It's not designed to necessarily meet or exceed budget, because what we provide is a quality of life. To give you an example, when we have our softball leagues, you have the leagues that pay a fee to be able to play in the league, but that fee is then in turn to pay our referees, our officials who officiate the games. What's the benefit we get from that? Well, we have a cohesiveness of citizens that are coming together and enjoying themselves in sports and activities. That makes them more healthier, that makes them more communicative, involved in each other, and it actually drives down some of the crime statistics. So Parks and Recreation is not going to be, statistically, not just in Jackson, but nationally, internationally, it's not going to be one of those departments that's going to be heavy revenue generated. Not to say we're not going to bring in any, but to say, well, we put in this and got back that, then in the profession of Parks and Recreation, sometimes you met your goal if the quality of life activities have been offered to the citizens.
So you're losing thousands of dollars because something don't have a credit card swipe machine?
Simply is an interesting word to ask that question.
To be quite frank, yes, sir. We did not have an electronic means of being able to accept credit card. Why didn't we have? Because that will be the next question. Well, because of some of the infrastructure problems that we were having. Part of the reason why the revenue was down this year is because of the days we had to be closed, because of the piping, the water busting, the laying of the internet lines or the fiber optics so that we can have internet there. There was a whole plethora of things that took place in comparison to last year, the challenges that we met and overcame this year in order to get back on track. So to be quite honest, yes, sir, simply because we were not able to swipe a card is those revenues that we missed out on.
And have you never had electronic payment, or is that?
I'm sorry, sir?
Have you never had electronic payment, or did it stop, or?
No, under my tenure, or during the time I've been here, there was not a robust form of electronic payment. Now, the management company that we had overseeing the zoo prior to that, I'm not sure on all the methods of payment that they receive in order to accept those coming in at that time. But I can just say during my time that we're here, no, sir, we have not. So am I promising or positive or hopeful that we'll see a difference? Absolutely. Once again, 423 people were turned away in just 1 month.
And did you say that they're going to have that installed by the end of the month or the end of the year?
No, sir, we're on pace to have all of that up and going the end of the month. Yes, sir. Does that answer your question? Thank you. Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you.
I don't know whether the prior management company had that either. I can say anecdotally that the question of electronic payment has been one we've been working on for some time. So that I do know, that we've been trying to work on the infrastructure to accept electronic payments. I have a note here. This goes back to the Thalia-Mara Hall question. There was an industrial hygienic test done Friday. They are awaiting the results. That's on the microbial growth that was announced, I think, last week or sometime shortly before that. That is remediation step 1. The results will determine the remediation protocol, which is step 2 for how they clean and sanitize it. I want to be clear that growth has not been some long-standing issue. There was a malfunction with the air conditioning unit the weekend prior to it being noticed, and then that's where that growth formed, and they've been waiting for the company to do the testing so that they could know how to resolve it. And so that is the testing has been done, waiting on the results, and we'll keep you updated on that process. All right. Anything else?
There was a recent data that showed that Mayor they found a decline in violent crime in 69 major cities. Jackson was not on that list here this year. So last year, the court case was not on the code, but it's not in every day this year. It's the mayor's
Yeah.
but what is like the, what's the
Well, I don't know how that data was received. I can tell you definitively that we had a decline in our violent crime. Whether it was reported or not, matter of fact, please expect for us an entire press conference based on the reduction of our crime. And that may become a surprise to some people because, and this is not talking about any particular station. When you watch the news, that's not the message that you're given, right? But we've definitely had a reduction in our violent crime, not only homicides, but other violent crimes. And we're happy to report that, not just this year, right? This year we're trying to fight to make certain that we continue to go down. But it's been a trend over the last 3 years, and that is not widely reported. So Jackson is in the company of cities that has had a reduction. Who gave that information? We know that our chief has talked about becoming certified in how we report data. We have not yet achieved that goal, so I don't know if that has any impact in terms of how that report was created, but I can tell you without question that we've had a reduction in violent crime. Now, for those families that have suffered at the hands of violence, one violent incident is one too many, and so we're not resting in that, but we do see the effects of the work that is being put in. All right. Thank you very much.